After the fall of Nishapur, a moment that would echo through history, Genghis Khan's daughter, grieving and furious over the death of her husband, issued a chilling order that would forever stain the city's memory. Every living thing in the city was to be killed: men, women, children, and even the animals that roamed its streets. No one was to be spared, not a single voice left to tell the tale. The city, once vibrant and full of life, was to be silenced completely. Mongol soldiers carried out the command with ruthless efficiency. To prove their obedience, they built gruesome pyramids of skulls, stacking the remains of the dead in ghastly monuments that stood as undeniable evidence of the massacre. These macabre towers haunted the landscape, a warning to all who might defy Mongol rule. This was not just conquest, it was total annihilation. The destruction was so thorough that it seemed designed to erase Nishapur from existence itself. The city's buildings were reduced to ashes, its streets choked with smoke and ruin, and its people vanished as if they had never been. Chroniclers of the time, both horrified and awestruck, wrote that over 1 million souls perished in the massacre. While modern historians debate the accuracy of these numbers, the true scale of the tragedy is lost to history, buried beneath centuries of dust and legend. The Mongols did not stop at killing the people. They leveled the city's walls, destroyed its intricate irrigation canals, and even salted the earth so that nothing would grow for generations. The land itself was cursed, left barren and lifeless as a final act of vengeance. Nishapur was wiped off the map, its name nearly erased from memory, a dire warning to all who might consider resisting the great Khan. The fate of Nishapur became a legend, whispered in fear across the lands. The story of its destruction spread quickly, becoming a powerful tool of psychological warfare. Other cities, terrified by the fate that had befallen Nishapur, surrendered to the Mongols without a fight, hoping to avoid the same merciless end. Today, the massacre at Nishapur stands as a stark reminder of the human cost of empire and the devastating power of vengeance. Its ruins, silent and empty, still echo with the memory of that chilling command. Genghis Khan, born as Temujin, emerged from the harsh and unforgiving Mongolian steppes, a land where survival was a daily struggle and betrayal was never far away. His early life was marked by constant danger, shifting alliances, and the ever-present threat of violence. Orphaned at a young age and abandoned by his own clan, Temujin endured years of poverty, hunger, and even enslavement. Yet, these hardships forged in him an unbreakable spirit and a relentless determination. He learned to trust only those who proved their loyalty, and he began to dream of uniting the scattered Mongol tribes under one banner. Unlike other leaders of his time, Temujin built his army not on noble birth, but on merit, loyalty, and ability. He rewarded talent and courage, regardless of background, creating a brotherhood of warriors bound by shared purpose. This new way of leadership inspired fierce devotion and discipline, making his forces the most formidable in the world. By 1206, after years of struggle and countless battles, Temujin was proclaimed Genghis Khan, universal ruler of a unified Mongol nation. This moment marked the birth of an empire that would soon stretch across continents. As ruler, Genghis Khan established a code of laws known as the Yasa, promoted religious tolerance, and protected merchants and travelers along the Silk Road. His policies encouraged trade and communication, connecting distant civilizations from China to Europe and fostering a new era of cultural exchange. The Mongol military was a marvel of organization and innovation. Horsemen and archers trained from childhood mastered tactics like feigned retreats, rapid flanking maneuvers, and psychological warfare. Their speed and adaptability on the battlefield left enemies bewildered and terrified. When Genghis Khan turned his gaze westward toward the powerful Khwarezmian Empire, he unleashed the most advanced and relentless military machine of the age. Cities fell, empires crumbled, and the world began to take notice of the Mongol storm sweeping across the land. The world was utterly unprepared for the scale and ferocity of the Mongol onslaught. For many, the arrival of Genghis Khan's armies was like a force of nature, unstoppable and devastating. Yet Genghis Khan was more than just a conqueror. He was a visionary nation-builder whose legacy would reshape continents, leaving behind cities, trade routes, and a new order that would influence the world for centuries. At the heart of his vast empire stood an army that inspired both awe and terror, a force that changed the course of history and whose echoes are still felt today. Nishapur was a jewel of the Islamic world, rich, cultured, and vital to the Silk Road. Its markets bustled with goods from China to the Mediterranean, and its artisans and scholars were renowned. The city's libraries, mosques, and gardens made it a beacon of learning and beauty. Politically, Nishapur was the heart of Khorasan, and a key stronghold for the Khwarezmian Shah. Its loss would cripple the empire's wealth and prestige. For the Mongols, capturing Nishapur meant seizing a prize and sending a message. The city's fate would become a defining moment in the Mongol invasion. It was a clash between nomadic conquerors and a settled, sophisticated civilization. Nishapur's destruction would echo as a symbol of Mongol dominance. The Mongol invasion began as a quest for trade, not destruction. But when a Mongol caravan was massacred and envoys killed by the Khwarezmian Shah, Genghis Khan demanded vengeance. The Mongol army swept through the empire, toppling cities with ruthless efficiency. During the siege near Nishapur, Genghis Khan's son-in-law Tokachar was killed by an arrow. This personal loss transformed the campaign into a vendetta. Nishapur, where Tokachar fell, became the target of the Khan's wrath. The order was clear: the city and its people would pay for the death of a Mongol royal. The fate of Nishapur was sealed, not by strategy, but by grief and revenge. The city was marked for utter destruction. The lesson to defy the Khan was to risk total annihilation. In the chill of November 1220, the city of Nishapur stood at the crossroads of fate. Tolui, the youngest and perhaps most ruthless son of Genghis Khan, led the Mongol vanguard to the city's imposing gates. The thunder of hooves echoed across the plains, sending tremors of fear through the hearts of those within the walls. The defenders, confident in their towering walls and the strength of their numbers, believed they could withstand any assault. They placed their faith in stone and steel, unaware that the Mongols brought with them not just an army, but a storm of destruction unlike any the world had seen. The Mongols, renowned for their mastery of siege warfare, unleashed a terrifying barrage. Catapults hurled massive stones and flaming projectiles, while fire arrows rained down, setting rooftops ablaze and filling the air with smoke and terror. Day and night, the city was battered without mercy. After days of relentless bombardment, the once mighty walls finally gave way. Rubble choked the streets as Mongol warriors surged through the breaches, their war cries echoing through the chaos. In desperation, the city's leaders gathered what little they could: gold, jewels, and promises of loyalty, hoping to buy mercy for their people. Envoys pleaded at the gates, their voices trembling with fear and hope. But fate had already turned against Nishapur. The recent death of Tokachar, a Mongol noble, had sealed their doom. Tolui, driven by vengeance, rejected every offer of peace, his resolve hardened by loss and fury. Word spread quickly through the city. Panic erupted as families fled their homes, desperate to escape the violence they knew was coming. The streets filled with chaos, fear gripping every heart. The Mongols, relentless and methodical, prepared for the final act. This was not to be a conquest for riches or territory, but a campaign of utter annihilation. Their weapons were sharpened, their resolve unbreakable. Inside the battered city, defenders and townspeople alike armed themselves for a last, desperate stand. They knew now that they were not just defending their city, but fighting for the very survival of their families, their culture, and their lives. The final assault loomed. Mongol forces gathered at the breaches, ready to storm the city in a wave of violence that would leave nothing untouched. As the city held its breath, a dreadful silence fell. Families huddled together, awaiting the inevitable. The massacre that was about to unfold would be remembered for generations. When the Mongols finally charged, they showed no mercy. The streets ran red as soldiers cut down anyone in their path, sparing neither young nor old. In the smoldering ruins, the true horror of the siege was revealed. Nishapur's destruction would echo through history as one of its darkest and most tragic chapters. On April 10, 1221, the Mongols stormed Nishapur. The defenders were overwhelmed. The city fell in a wave of violence. The slaughter was systematic. No one was spared, not even animals. Genghis Khan's daughter, Tokachar's widow, oversaw the massacre, ensuring her husband's death was avenged. For 4 days, the city was turned into a graveyard. The Mongols built pyramids of skulls, a chilling symbol and a method to count the dead. The destruction was total. Mosques, libraries, palaces, and markets were razed. The irrigation systems were destroyed, turning fertile land to desert. When the Mongols left, Nishapur was nothing but ruins and silence. The city's erasure was complete, a warning to the world. The jewel of Khorasan was gone. Only devastation remained. We know of Nishapur's fate through the words of chroniclers like Juvaini and Ibn al-Athir. Juvaini described the city's destruction so complete that it could be plowed over, and gave the infamous death toll, likely symbolic, of nearly 1.7 million. Ibn al-Athir, gathering stories from refugees, called the Mongol invasion the greatest calamity in history. These writers used vast numbers to express the scale of horror, not as literal counts. Their accounts capture the terror and disbelief that swept the region. Even Mongol records acknowledged the brutality, justifying it as a warning to others. For the survivors, it was the end of their world. The chronicler's words ensure Nishapur's tragedy is not forgotten. Their testimony is a lasting memorial to the city and its people. The massacre at Nishapur became the defining example of the Mongol terror. Stories of skull pyramids and razed cities spread ahead of the Mongol armies, breaking resistance before battles began. The threat was clear: surrender and live, or resist and face annihilation. This reputation saved lives by compelling cities to yield, but it also cemented Genghis Khan's image as a destroyer. In the West, he was the scourge of God. In Mongolia, a revered founder. The destruction of Nishapur marked the end of an era for the Islamic world, shattering centers of learning and culture. The scars of the Mongol invasions ran deep, and the memory of Nishapur became a warning about the fragility of civilization. The cost of empire was measured in lost cities and shattered lives. The story of Nishapur's destruction still echoes through history. It's a lesson in the extremes of vengeance and the devastating power of empire. The city's fate shows how personal loss can unleash catastrophe on a massive scale. Today, the ruins of Nishapur are a silent testament to what was lost. Archaeologists uncover layers of ash and destruction, confirming the chronicler's tales. The site stands as a monument to the fragility of human achievement. Nishapur's story reminds us to look beyond grand conquests and remember the lives erased by violence. By studying these dark chapters, we learn the value of peace and empathy. The legacy of Nishapur is a warning and a call to remember. Subscribe for more untold stories from history's shadows.